Good evening, honey. It's actually middle of the afternoon. I wanted to record a reading for you since I'm going to be heading over to the campus about 4 o'clock. I'll call you between now and then, but I wanted to pick up where we left off yesterday. Remember, he just found out he's going to have to attend or wants to attend Dooley's event on the same day that Cynthia's having her tea. So let's pick up there. To be there at 11, he would have to leave Mitford no later than 6 a.m., maybe 6:15, after melting the chocolate and dipping 150 strawberries. Puny had agreed to come early and do the vegetable sandwiches. Cynthia had been gravely disappointed, but tried hard not to show it. His wife, however, had the complete inability to hide her feelings. They were right out there for all to see, as accurate as a top-of-the-line wall barometer. "Of course you must go," she said. "Dooley would be heartbroken if you didn't. I'll pack him a box of treats, and you don't have to do the strawberries. It's too much." "It's no such thing. I'll do them, and that's that." She sighed. "Puny will be here all day, and Hessie Mayhew was collecting primroses from every garden and insists on helping clean up, and Marge Owen wants to help too, so I'll be back around 6:30, and anything that's left to clean up, I'll do it." "I love you madly," she said, looking brave. He finished setting out squares of chocolate and a double boiler for the morning. Then he turned and drew her to him and took her face in his hands. "In truth," he said, "it's the other way around." He was 30 miles out of Mitford when, without warning, the engine quit. He managed to steer his car onto the shoulder of the road, where it sat at the edge of a ditch. He tried the ignition several times to the sound of nothing but a click. The engine, the battery, whatever, was as dead as a doornail. Blast! His battery died. We know about that. Agitated, he got out of the car and looked up and down the road. He had thoroughly enjoyed the 8 years he traveled by foot. Not once had he been forced to put up with the aggravation and expensive car trouble. He saw a house situated at the end of a pasture. In the other direction, some kind of low building sat back from the road with a sign out front. He walked toward it quickly, feeling the cold sting of the clear spring morning. 7:15. He had 3.5 hours or so to drive the network of time-saving back roads that led to Dooley's school. The sign had rusted, but was still readable. "Beaumont Aviation, Charters and Instruction. Have a nice day." If he could get to a phone and call Lou Boyd, Lou could call and ask Cynthia to follow Lou's tow truck. He could use her car, though he'd definitely be late. He didn't see anybody when he opened the door. "Hello," he shouted. Silence. "Hello, anybody here?" He spied a phone on a table. Knowing Lou's number by heart, he dialed it. Busy. Dadgummit, if Lou Boyd was sitting around playing checkers this time of morning. He glanced out the window and saw somebody tinkering with a little plane on the grass landing strip. He dialed Lou again, still busy. One problem, if Lou called Cynthia, what could she do after all? What a rotten thing it would be to have her drive a half hour from home on a morning when every moment was vital to her. He'd stick it out for Lou, however. Still busy. "Lord, show me where to step here. We've got a boy who, looking for a familiar face in the crowd, we can't let him down." He paced the floor. If Mule Skinner drove out to loan him his car, how would Mule get home? He certainly couldn't ask the man to drive all the way to Dooley's school and back, as if he had nothing better to do. Ron Malcolm. He didn't know how Ron could help, but Ron had a solution for everything. Wilma's voice on the machine said, "We're out of town. If you're Tommy, Rachel, or Nell, please call us in Boca Raton at—" He hung up, took $1 from his billfold, and laid it next to the phone. "Mornin'," said a man, coming in the door. He wiped his hands on a rag. "Good morning. I just made a phone call to Mitford. I left $1 on the table." "Can I help you?" "I wish you could. My car broke down. I think the engine quit." "Could be a timing belt," said the man, still wiping. "Maybe your ignition switch." "Could you take a look at it? I'm not much good around automobiles. Coffee?" Outside, he heard a car screech onto the gravel and park near the door. "No thanks. I've got to be at my boy's school in Virginia at 11 o'clock, come hell or high water." Homer Cunningham strode in, wearing a leather flying jacket and a grin. "Hey, preacher, I thought I seen your car out there. You here to charter or to take lessons? Omer! He felt like a man in a foreign country who sees a face from home. My car broke down and I've got to get to Virginia. Dooley's singing at a concert, and Lou Boyd won't answer the blasted phone, and can you drive me into town? I can pick up my wife's car. This would put him at the school a little past noon. He felt sick with regret. Where are you going in Virginia? Whitechapel and running late. I'll fly you, said Omer. Oh, I don't think. When you got to be there? 11 o'clock. It's going on 8. You'll never make it running home to Midford. He felt the blood drain from his face. Lord, if this is an answer to prayer, I don't believe I can take you up on it. I flew in and out of Whitechapel many's the time. We could borrow a pickup at the airstrip and whip you over to that fancy school in 10 minutes. I know where it's at. You could? I'll take you on my little rag-wing tail dragger. Omer's face lit up like a Christmas tree. Your what? Rag-wing tail dragger. She's a honey, a little J3 cub. Fabric stretched over a few tubes of steel wheel under the tail. You don't see 'em much anymore. Fabric stretched over a few tubes? Better built than anything out there today. Get your plunder and let's go. You'll be there 10:30 sharp with time to spare. Is your pilot's license current? Omer's license is always current, said the man, grinning. Father Tim hobbled to his car, his knees nearly giving out. When he reached for his jacket, he saw that his hand was visibly shaking. He couldn't do this. His aversion to flying had kept him stuck to Mitford like moss on a log for 14 years, except that witless journey to New York, which his heart had forced him to make, and the long-ago jaunt to write the paper on C.S. Lewis. As for the trip across the pond to Ireland, that had been his bishop's idea. He had flown 6 interminable hours with his jaw set like a stone. Lord, if this is your answer, then you've got to help me do this thing. I know how you feel about fear, and I agree, but I'm scared stiff, and you know it, and I'm needing a generous handout of grace. The little yellow plane looked like a toy sitting on the green airstrip. While merely walking to it was a problem, climbing into the thing was worse. His knees were silly putty, his breathing labored, his palms drenched. Omer settled in and pulled on a cap. I don't reckon you want to fly with the doors off. I don't reckon so. Yes, sir, said Omer, displaying a mouthful of teeth the size of piano keys. Flying my little tail dragger is the most fun you can have with your clothes on. Hang tight, yelled Omer. He felt as if he were lashed to a jackhammer as they tore along the grass strip for what seemed an eternity. At last the little plane nosed up, up, up into the blue. His stomach crawled under his lung cage. Perspiration dampened his forehead like summer fog. The racking vibration in the cockpit bounced his glasses on his nose. Flying with Omer Cunningham, he suspected, was aviation's equivalent of eating Rose Watson's cooking. Wasn't he the guy who years ago flew so low over a pasture that he soured the milk on a farmer's cows? The farmer had sued and won. Omer leaned toward him and shouted at the top of his lungs, "Beautiful day for flying, ain't it?" He ran his tongue around the inside of his teeth to make sure he wasn't losing any. Yes, indeed, he yelled back. He regretted even the few strawberries he'd eaten for breakfast. Lord, please don't let me make a mess of this man's airplane. Clearly he was gaining a whole new perspective on St. Paul's admonition to pray without ceasing. Dooley, this is Mr. Omer Cunningham, my pilot. Your pilot? He flew me up here. You flew? He held his thumb and forefinger about 3 inches apart. And a little yellow plane about this big. Man. He shook Dooley's hand. You were great, son. Words fail me. It was a thrilling experience. Real good, said Omer with feeling. While Omer smoked a cigarette by the pickup truck, he and Dooley walked to the school green and sat under a tree. I'm glad you could come. I wish old Cynthia could have come. He handed over the samples from the first annual Primrose Tea. She sent you a box of stuff that will melt in your mouth. I want to open it now. Go to it. Dooley opened the box, popped an entire lemon square into his mouth, and reached for a cookie. Chew before you swallow is my advice. He looked at the place where Dooley's cowlick used to spout up like a geyser and wondered how it had mysteriously vanished. He looked at his tennis shoes, which were size 11, and the long legs which had grown longer just since Thanksgiving. It seemed only yesterday that he'd been chosen as the one to take the boy in, and already Dooley was gone, growing up, finding his own way. Why did time seem so short, so fleeting? How are you doing, buddy? All right. Really and truly? Yep. No kidding? Yep. You going to make it up here? Yes, sir. You're sticking with it? Yep. That concert was as fine as anything I've heard anywhere. A lot of hard work in that. Yes, sir. He put his arm around the boy. I love you, pal. Looky here, said Omer, walking over to the tree. Don't you want me to take the boy up for a little spin? Well, man, said Dooley, jumping to his feet. Walking to the office to get the headmaster's permission, he reflected that there was a full lunch, 2 lemon squares, and 3 cookies in that boy. He was thrilled there was only 1 passenger seat in the little plane, which meant he'd be forced to stick it out on the ground during this particular joyride. When they dropped Dooley back at school, he hugged him and got a good hard hug in return. That was worth the trip right there, he thought, choking up. Bonsoir, monsieur, Dooley yelled after him. So that's where I'm going to end it today, and I'll fill you in on another one tomorrow. Anyway, I love you, baby. I'll call you before I head on over to the university, and it'll be a full evening, followed by a full morning. And then it's all about getting my old self home. So I love you, sweetheart. Let me try to upload this to YouTube and send you a link. Have a great evening. Bye-bye.